Go to a break, and then we're going to come right back on Coast to Coast AM to talk more about this Project Bluebeam that so many of us have heard about, and also we'll get into some of these physical underground bases, whatever they may be, in Dulce, New Mexico. We'll be back in just a moment with Norio Hayakawa as we talk about his incredible work into Project Bluebeam, the Great Deception, and also what's going on at Dulce, New Mexico. All that and more next on Coast to Coast AM. The great rocketeer, Mr. Von Braun, Norio, was also talking to some of his own employees and assistants, and he too talked about the possibility of a grand deception. So it's probably out there.
There's no question about it, George. The reason, as I stated before, why New Mexico is so important is because it was in 1945 that the United States, through a program called Paperclip, brought in a number of really smart, really...
Nazis.
Well, actually, that's true. Scientists. These were scientists that the United States government brought, and they were, well, of course, not only scientists, but intelligence officers of SS, and many of them came to Albuquerque and were stationed at Kirtland Army Air Base at that time, and many of the scientists were then transferred to places like Los Alamos, and then also to White Sands.
And I think there were more than 100 of these scientists that they brought here.
That's true. Plus, what's interesting is that they also brought intelligence officers, because the SS, the officers were excelling in the art of intelligence. Art of information, misinformation, and manipulation of disinformation. These were very, very important elements, and in 1947, the United States began this Central Intelligence Agency, and many of the initial ideas came from former German intelligence officers.
Sure. And I think one of the main reasons, Norio, they needed this Operation Paperclip is they were petrified that German scientific knowledge was going to get into the hands of the Russians, the Soviets. And so I guess they wanted to, grab that brain power and at least bring it here.
That's correct. That's why, not only... in terms of military scientific aspects, but also other aspects of the technology, like biogenetics, too. And so today, Los Alamos National Laboratory is the world's leading-edge research center for human genetics, biogenetics, and DNA research. And that is very interesting because only about 65 miles northwest of Los Alamos is a mysterious community called Dulce, New Mexico. The name of the town originally was Agua Dulce, which means sweet water. But after the United States government brought in the Jicarilla Apache Nation in there, they changed the name to Dulce only.
I see. Okay. So with Project Paperclip, which I think is so important as we get into what's going on at Dulce, New Mexico as well, this continued. I assume they paid them well, brought their families from Germany, all that, didn't they?
That's correct. In fact, the relationship of, the German technology, German Luftwaffe, the Air Force, is still, in that sense, can be seen in the fact that Holloman Air Force Base has had a large contingent of German pilots. Even today, they have a special, program. But it's a fact that the CIA, which is the successor to Office of Strategic Services,
yes,
came into existence in 1947, and due largely to these, intelligence officers' suggestions and so on. But not only, this, but the NASA and all these programs were started with the help of German scientists' input.
Do you think some of these scientists, Norio, should have been held up on war crimes, but because we wanted their brain power, we just kind of forgot that?
Well, I can't tell, but it's a fact. It's a fact. And but anyway, in 1947, in fact, probably in 1945, 1946, and 1947, I believe that there were several type of tests of new types of flying wing type craft that they brought from Germany, and they were tested in many parts of the Southwest. And this is probably a coincidence, but this is where it all started in White Sands areas and so on, and so what I'm saying, and I wrote an article before that it all started in 1947. Until 1947, there was no such thing as the Air Force. Suddenly, in 1947, the Air Force came into existence.
We also had the Kenneth Arnold UFO sightings.
That's right.
We got Roswell, New Mexico. Everything started.
That's correct. In 1947, the National Security Act passed, and NSA started. A lot of things started in 1947, and as I said in the beginning, that I believe that year was beginning of the conditioning of belief systems aimed towards a segment of the population. But, getting back to this place called Dulce, New Mexico, this is a unique place, George. This community, a town called Dulce, is under the jurisdiction of the Jicarilla Apache Nation. And it's a very large reservation. And the Jicarilla Apache Nation was brought in not too long ago, actually, in the late 1800s. And before the Jicarilla Apache Nation came to Dulce, the Hispanos, the people known as Hispanos, used to live there. Many of them were ranchers, and there are still a few Hispanos that are ranchers in the Dulce area. But overall, New Mexico is a beautiful state. The Dulce area is a beautiful region.
Is, yeah.
The climate is great. It's cold, but, overall, the entire climate of New Mexico is so diverse. The people are, it's a diverse culture, and it's a wonderful place to be. With the four seasons, the cost of living is, compared to California, is very less, inexpensive.
Yeah.
And it's a wonderful state, but it's truly a land of enchantment in the literal sense of the word. And that's why I love New Mexico. It's filled with mysteries and enchantment. But Dulce area especially is an area filled with deep-rooted spiritual, cultural, and spiritual beliefs.
Extremely, right?
Yes, Native American, Jicarilla Apache Nation. And, in fact, not only in Dulce, New Mexico, but a little west of Dulce, New Mexico, is basically the Four Corners area. And the Four Corners area of New Mexico, the United States, have always been a location of high, a number of reports of strange flying objects ever since 1945, and possibly before that, too. Now,
let's go back just for a bit to Project Bluebeam, and then we're going to spend all of next hour talking about Dulce and what might be there. How long ago do you think they concocted the program? Do you think it was around 45, 47 That's when they decided, let's come up with a grand